and we should be live. Okay, so greetings, this is Eduardo Jambo. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to install a generative AI called TinyLlama 1.1B, that's for parameter model, on your local machine. Also be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. And as usual, in a live stream like this one right here, you're free to join the live chat and post anything related to programming or lifestyle topics. And for example, if you go to the article, it will direct you right to the channel and the actual post for this live stream, so you'll be able to log in and post your requests there. And I said again, be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. I appreciate everybody who's subscribed so far this month. Keep it up. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. Okay, so as you know, in the past, I was using applications such as PyGuy and Alpaca, which are Alma clients. So what this would do is they would have the way you could get different models, especially for Alpaca, and then you run it there. So but what I wanted to do was, I was trying to say, what if I have a very low spec device, for example like a Raspberry Pi, one of those Raspberry Pi, and I don't have a GUI, so I want to run obviously a very small model, but it's more than that. I'm saying that I want to keep the resources as low as possible, so instead of running a GUI, I can run it right on the command line, and that's what this tutorial is going to be about. So obviously in the future we'll we'll build on our what we're doing today, make it maybe like a web app, so you can ask questions and then we'll be able to run the requests through a model and a tiny model. And also we can also train our model. If you've noticed that I still haven't found any AI, including some of the big ones with large cloud infrastructure, which have been able to answer my question. So I'm thinking this is one other way you can also use it to train the AI, and I'll show you that when we do this tutorial today. Okay, so the TinyLlama 1.1B, it's a lightweight yet powerful conversational AI model. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm also going to use Podman Compose. You can follow along with Docker if you have Docker. Basically it's going to be a one-to-one replacement. So if you're using Docker, continue using Docker. The reason I like using Podman is because Podman is rootless, meaning that you can run it as a regular user. The problem with Docker, sometimes it needs to be run as the super administrator, the root user. So that's why I like Podman. Okay, so the TinyLlama 1.1B is an open source language model developed by Hugging Face. With its compact size, it can generate high quality text responses while being lightweight enough to run in a resource constrained environment. That's what I was trying to say. And running it in a Podman Compose container allows you to isolate the environment, ensuring that your setup is reproducible and easy to manage. So the good thing is, as you can see here, you see I have all these files here. I have the Python file. I'll explain this later, what both of them do. These are just the Python files for the request handling, the Docker file, the Podman -compose YAML file, and of course the requirements.txt file. Now we'll go through this, don't worry about it. Okay, so why use Podman Compose for TinyLlama? Well, if you containerize is one of the best ways to run complex applications like TinyLlama 1.1B. The reason for this is because, for example, I'm a programmer and I do different things. I could be working on, say, C or C++ or PHP or Python, and sometimes for specific projects I have to install something. So because I'm not going to be working, I might not even work on something for a month or a year, so I don't want to keep around I call it craft. It's not a bad thing, but I'm just saying that I don't want my system to have like gigabytes of all these things. Some of them might have to run at the startup. I don't need that, so that's why I prefer for things which I might not use all the time to run them in a container. Even though the container may take up a little bit more space, it's just easy. It's also, as it says, that it's easy to reproduce in that you can run it inside a you can replicate this, for example, on a server. Let's say maybe you rent a server for a little while. You can do your training there as well, or maybe a friend or a coworker as well. Okay, so with that said, let's get started here. So as I said, I like using Podman because it's rootless. You can simply run this without root privileges. And I'll explain the YAML file and all that later. So let's get started. So if you're in a Linux type system, what you do is, if for example it's a Debian system, you just do apt install Podman and Podman Compose. I'm on Fedora type system, or that's a Red Hat Linux type system, so it will be DNF install Podman and Podman Compose. Okay, and of course if you're on Mac or Windows, you can go to the Podman website and it will show you how to install it on a Mac or Windows. There's various ways you can use brew, and if you have different Linux systems, you can use, for example, if you're on Arch Linux, you can use Pacman and Alpine Linux. There, as you can see, it's all there. So as I said before, I'm on Fedora, so it's a DNF. Okay, now with that said, let's continue here. So then, the first thing we're going to need is a YAML file. So as you can see here, you can simply just copy this. It's just in the pre tag. You can simply copy this, and I'll show you my YAML file here, this one here. So I'll open up with a text editor so you can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit. So as you can see here, the version doesn't really matter as long as it's 3 and above. So you can put 3.8, whatever. And then the TinyLlama, and you might say, hey, this looks different than this. I'll explain that later. So as you can see, the port number 5000. So if you're using the port number 5000, you can change it to this. It will be mapped to the one in the container. You can change it. And app just means as you see this dot here, this means that this is the relative path that will be considered the app inside the container, and it's always going to restart. So that's the Podman Compose file. Now we also have a Docker file. You see the build here, it says dot. That's because it's going to detect that there's a Docker file. So let me zoom in up here a little bit for the Docker file as well. So you can see, we also need Python. The Python is for 3.9 version, getting the slim version. And again, we also, unfortunately, for Python, I think 3 series, we do need a few other things as well. So we need this library, as obviously you can tell it's a Debian type system. We need this libgomp1, and then we also, after that, we upgrade pipe, make sure it's the latest version. Then we need torch, transformers, and flask. And you see again, it's going to copy it into the current folder, the current files into the app, into the container. And then it's going to expose 5000. And then it's going to run Python, app Python. So I'll explain this in a second, why I have 2 of them. And then requirements. So the requirements, obviously, zoom in here. So as I said, torch, transformers, and flask. Okay, so what's the difference between app.py and app0.py? Let's go to app0 first, and I'll explain that to you. So this one here, I'll zoom in as well. So as you can see, from Flask, import Flask, it should be here somewhere. Okay, I don't know why it's not there, but this is just so that we can send our requests here. So as you can see here, we use the Flask request JSON file transformers. We import the auto tokenizer and auto model for casual LLM. LM. Import torch. So basically what we're doing here, if it detects if we have a CUDA, that's NVIDIA a GPU, which I do, and then after that, because it will be much faster if you use the GPU instead. So it got the inputs, and then what it will do, it will JSONify our generated text. Sorry about that. And you have to type prompt and this. The problem with this is it will just this one is more limited, so that's why I decided to create this one here, app.py, and I'll explain to you what this one does instead. So what this one does is that instead of relying on pre-generated answers, what this one is going to do is that you see it's gonna grab the TinyLlama 1.1B hyphen chart version 1.0. This is the actual name of the model we're going to grab. So what this one will do is that we will ask it questions, and then it will answer questions based on its answers, what it already has in that model. So this way, I'm not making up the answers. It's the answers. It's the answers it knows at the time of this recording. I haven't done any training yet. I said in the future tutorial I'll show you how to actually train them. So as you can see here, what will happen is we'll ask it some questions. You see, to get the JSON, it will get the question part. Then it will try to answer. The question itself, and then so it will answer this general question, and then it will give you some max length, the sequences, and all this stuff here, and then it will provide an answer for us. So that's why I have this here. So the difference between app.py and app0.py is app0.py, as you can see, it's the same one. The problem with this one was that it would only answer a specific way for something that it basically takes part of your text and grabs the answer from it. For example, if I say something like, what is the question would be, what is the capital of France? And then in the answer part I would say Paris is a great city in France. So then it would say that, oh, the answer must be Paris. So that's kind of cheating. That's obviously like training it. But I'm saying is that what I want it to do is to use its own to generate its own answers for now. So that's the difference. So that's why I decided to do this one, where it will grab I'll ask it a question, and then what it will do is it will generate an answer from its own database. Okay, so that's basically it. Now with that done, so let's run this. I'm on the command line here. I'm going to zoom in as well. So what I need to do is I need to obviously get the Podman here running. So type Podman -compose and type up. So as you can see here, it's running. And how do I know it's running? It does take a little while. So let me open up a new window here to show you what's happening in the background. So let's clean this up here first. Okay, so if I type Podman -a, so as you can see here, it tells you that this has been running for 21 seconds, and the Python has also been running for 21 seconds. So if I zoom out, let me zoom up a little bit here. It'll be easier to see. So yeah, so as you can see, 21 seconds ago, so it's been running for this. I'll probably zoom out even more. Yeah, here we go. That's probably even easier to see. You can see the status and how long it's been running. So so it is running. So now that's, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I'll be able to paste. So the first question I'm going to ask it is, who is the mayor of Toronto? As you can tell, this is how I ask a question, like what's the capital of France, and it will say Paris. So you know what, I'm not going to ask it that question because I want to be consistent with the question I've asked the other AIs. Okay, so as you can see here, building and all this, these are just screenshots. And so you can see the answer, and this is the live stream. So you know what, as you can tell, it's working. So as you can say, who is the mayor of Toronto? These are the questions I want to ask it. So this way I don't provide it an answer. It will generate the answer based on what it already has. It's in current database. So to do that, I'm just going to use a command line curl. So here I'll just paste it in here. You can see the question is, who is the mayor of Toronto? So I press enter. So when you get this, it's because most likely it hasn't been up running long enough. So you just need to Just hold up, just wait a little bit, and we'll have to run that again. Yeah, just be patient. Yeah, so yeah, as I said, I did run it. I'll show you here. Where was it? Here, when I said who's the mayor of Toronto, and you see it gave this answer. Connection reset here. So let me actually check to see if it's up and running. Just need to wait. I think last time I had to wait a little bit longer. I think it was 3 minutes I had to wait for some reason. So now it's been running for 2 minutes. I might have to wait. Let me try the question again. Oh, okay. You have to take this out. Okay, you see what happened here when I asked it who is the mayor of Toronto. You see it's actually working now, so then it will give us an answer. So I think it's a little bit slow because I'm using OBS. So OBS is probably using the GPU as well, and I'm also recording, so it might be a little bit slow. So I think what I might do is I might rely on the screenshot as the hopefully it doesn't take too long. It was much faster. I think it's because I said the GPU is being used by the OBS, so it's going to be, oh, there we go. So it provided an answer. Okay, so let's read that answer here. You see the answer came out. As I said, for some reason it takes 3 minutes when you first run it takes about 3 minutes. So this makes it actually perfect for I said if you're running it on a low spec device, and I said obviously if the GPU wasn't being used by OBS it would be much faster. But let's read the answer. So you see, answer according to, as the Toronto mayor, I have the honor and privilege of serving the residents of Toronto. The great city, I'm committed to working with the city's council, blah blah blah, and creating an accessible. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so it gave a different answer. That is actually weird because you see before when I asked it who is the mayor of Toronto, it said the mayor of Toronto is Rob Ford, who was elected in 2020 and took office in 2024. So it didn't answer my question again, but it gave a different answer. So that's another weird thing about AIs is that yeah, it gives weird. Yeah, sometimes it gives weird answers. As you can see, this is another weird answer. So with that said, let me ask it a PHP question, and let's see how long that one takes. Hopefully it doesn't take us long. And I said, like, if it takes too long, I think what I'll do, I'll just stop asking questions and simply just I'll show you the screenshot answer. So this one shouldn't be this one should hopefully doesn't take too long, but it looks like it's going to take long because I'm using the GPU. Obviously, so there we go. So that was actually fast. You see, the answer must include the necessary database connection settings such as the database host name, username, and password. Please provide clear and concise instructions for implementing the code. Okay, so let's see what it actually answered before. Okay, actually this is a better answer because before, you see, when I asked you the same question, it didn't actually give me an answer. You see, it just gave a blank. So it is learning. Like so for somehow it must have known that I was upset with or I wasn't pleased with the answer. So it gave a better answer, but still, so it's requesting me to ask it a different way. I'm not going to do that because this is supposed to be a conversation. Okay, so without going on, let me ask it another one. So that was pretty quick. So this time I'm going to ask it. To generate a 1080p screenshot of the GNOME desktop environment. I want to go back up here and ask if some of you are new to this channel. Why do I always ask it who is the mayor of Toronto? So the reason for this is that during the lockdown of 2020. The mayor of Toronto at that time, his name was John Tory. He wanted us to basically stay home, only go out once a day. The usual sort of 6 feet or 2 meter distancing. Well, he was spending time with his alleged mistress. So when that was found out, he actually resigned. Now, so I thought that was a great question to ask AIs. That's why I've been asking this question to the AI, because so basically for a while we didn't have in Toronto we didn't have a mayor. So that's why I keep on asking this question, and that question surprisingly is still relevant to this day, because one thing I noticed is a lot of these AI models, they are based on answers until about 2021, 2022. So they're basically, what I'm saying is that even though some of them go up to 2023, the problem is the thing pertaining to the mayor of Toronto, usually it's very dated, right? So if, like, it might even be 10 years or more dated. So that question is still relevant. Okay, so the reason I asked that question is also because you can simply do a Google search or whatever search engine is, that you can easily find out who the mayor of Toronto is. For example, you go to the City of Toronto website, you can find out who the mayor is. So that's why it's not a trick question anymore. But I'm saying is that I find it humorous that no AI is able to answer that question properly. But with that said, the next question which I asked is the PHP code snippet to connect to a MySQL database. That the reason I asked that question is because I want to make sure that most of the tutorials, even to this day, at the time of this recording, is if you ask any AI to provide you with let me ask it another question, because this might take a while. Just give me a second. I'll paste that one in as well. So the reason that one did not answer the question. I'll ask it the last question as well. Okay, I just want to ask it because it might take a while to answer the question. Okay, so the reason I asked the PHP code is, I said most of the code snippets you find online, even to this very day in 2025, this is the time of this recording, is that they're going to be based on PHP 4. So PHP 4 used the MySQL extension, and that one was actually removed in PHP 7. It was deprecated in PHP 5. So it uses the MySQL that's improved extension, or it uses Pillow with the PHP data object. But I said, so that's the reason I asked that question. It's not a trick question at all. And most of them do actually get it right, but some are not able to answer, like for example this one, which is fine. Okay, so this one I asked for a 1080p screenshot of the GNOME desktop environment, and then the answer it gave was, can you provide me with a step-by-step guide on how to capture this screenshot using a terminal? Yes, I can actually do it. So that's actually not a bad answer. I can actually do that, but the reason I asked that question was the correct answer should actually be that, hey, I'm not able to generate a screenshot because I don't have access to your computer, or I can't create one because I'm a conversational AI, not an image, the image AI generator. So that's basically the proper answer. And like, if I know how to do this in terminal, why would I ask it, right? That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So when I asked it this one, I need a Kotlin code snippet to open the camera using Camera 2 API and place the camera view on a texture view. So the reason I asked this question is because there's a lot of code out there for Java, whether it's Java before Android or Java. Obviously, when I say Camera 2 API, I'm referring to Android here. So this one is also not a trick question, and Kotlin is still relatively new in the programming space. So no AI has been able to answer that question correctly as well. So that's why I asked it, because when I taught myself, I'm not an expert yet. I've been teaching myself a little bit of Kotlin. So obviously I thought AI would help me improve my Kotlin code skills, but looks like that's not going to happen. Okay, so then after that I asked the last question, which was, I need a Blender blend file for fire animation. So again, I'm sure you guys, as you know, I've been doing a lot of Blender Python API tutorials. So I was hoping AI would be able to help me generate a Blender a file that has a fire animation. And the funny thing is, no AI has been able to produce any code. Usually it's so dated or it's so convoluted it doesn't work anyway. So this was not meant to be a trick question. The only trick question is the first one, the Mayor of Toronto. So none of these questions are meant to be trick question. But as you see, it's been failing. There's no AI, as far as I know, that has been able to answer this. So you might say, oh, why don't you use a bigger parameter model? I have, and they're actually worse than the smaller ones. So that's why I decided to use the smaller ones, and I say you can also train them. So I said in the future, if you guys like this one, let me know. Then I said I'll show you how you can train it so that it gets better. And as you can see, you can also see the answer that they gave me here. You see, like the screenshot one, it actually, this was the answer it gave. And when I asked it for the Kotlin one, you see this is so it basically gave different answers. You see here, this time it gave empty for an answer, but this other time it gave a different answer as well. And then here, when I asked it for the Blender blend file, it asked for please provide me with a file that contains information. If I could do that, then why would I request it? That makes no sense. That's actually pretty funny. And then today it gave no answer. So as I said, that's another thing with AI. So this tiny little guy, this tiny AI is actually used, believe it or not, to train the bigger models. So I said in the future tutorial, I'll show you how we can actually train this ourselves so that the data set will stay local and we can share it if we want. For example, I can probably train it to provide better answers, and then those are the answers it will use in the future. So now with that said, we're basically done here. So what I always like to do is, unlike other people, what I always like to do is I always like to show you how to stop something. So what you do is you type Podman Compose, then you type down. So when you do this, you see it stopped it. And if you want to remove it, I'm not going to remove it yet. You see it stopped it. The tiny llama, it stopped it. You see it stopped it here. So I'm not going to remove it yet because I said maybe in a future tutorial I'll show you how to train it. So if you actually want to remove the image, you just type Podman images, and as you can see here, this is the one here, the tiny llama. So all you need to do is grab this image ID. So then you type Podman RMI, that means remove image, and then you put in the image ID, then it will be removed. So that's it. So I don't need this anymore, so I'll close this, and let's finish up here. So so as you saw, I already showed you the answers here and why open source matters. So TinyLlama 1.1B is not only powerful AI model, it's also open source, meaning anyone can use, modify, and contribute to the project. You can find the source code on Hugging Face or other repositories, enabling developers and AI enthusiasts to tweak the model according to their needs. Okay, and then if you want to learn more and get help, if you're new to Python and containerization, or need further assistance setting up TinyLlama, feel free to check out my resources. For example, I have a learning Python book. It's available on Amazon, links are in the description. I also have a learning Python course. It's available on ojamboshop.com, and the links are also in the description. And if you want one-on-one Python tutorials, if you need personalized support or have questions, I offer one-on-one online Python tutorials. You can contact me at ojambo.com/contact. And I also have TinyLlama services. I can also install or migrate TinyLlama for you, as you just saw here. And you can reach out to me at ojamboservices.com. I can do it myself. I have a partner. He can help you, Carlo. He can also help you with that if I'm not available. Okay, so conclusion: TinyLlama 1.1B, with its small size and powerful capabilities, is a great choice for anyone interested in running LLMs in containers. By using Podman Compose, you can easily manage and scale your AI projects in a flexible and isolated environment. I hope this guide has helped you get started. Feel free to reach out if you need further assistance. And also be sure to subscribe, like, follow, and leave comments for more frequent content. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this, and I'd like to thank everybody who subscribed so far this month. Keep it up. Thank you very much.